All right, boys and girls, welcome to Week 16 of the NFL season. We're down a soldier tonight. Cole forgot his computer,
Forgot
so
his
we'll
computer.
we'll see how this goes. But this is kind of back to the roots, back to the first couple weeks, being Gabe, just kind of getting after it and seeing what happens. So
Also, I'm
we'll
sorry if
go.
there's any girls that watch this. I didn't. He said boys and girls. So
I said boys
sorry
and
if there's any
girls, yeah.
girls that watch this, but
Yeah. But that's all right. So we'll just go ahead and kind of go back to the roots. Just start week 16 value here. We usually start the quarterback position. So Gabe, I'll kind of toss it to you this week. Where do you see value at the quarterback position for week 16?
I have got to start this off with a little bit of a rant. To be honest with you,
Oh yeah, let it rip,
Kyler,
baby.
Kyler Murray, what the frick, man? What is your deal? What is your problem? Why can you not figure it out? Like you've had good matchup after good matchup, and you just keep pooping all over yourself. And you're
Yeah.
playing the Panthers this week, and you're still at 6,100. And I'm having to like weigh my options. Like I should just be diving
I
head first into the Kyler Murray show with
know.
Harrison and McBride and Connor, but but you just can't figure it out. And
No.
maybe it's just because James Connors has been doing so good, but
Yeah.
it's just he's pissing me off. One because he was
Yeah.
on my season long team, and the two because I picked him like 3 weeks in a row, and he keeps just getting 8 to 10 points, and it's
Yeah.
really driving me up a wall.
Yeah. And I
Anyway,
don't know if you saw that. I sent you a video earlier of
I
he had an
saw it.
interview this week, and they told him how cold it was going to be, and he said, "Oh, explicitive,"
Yeah,
and
I
everybody
know,
started
right?
laughing. So this may be a little foreshadowing for a segment to come in the no touchy segment, but Kyler
Yeah,
Murray may be on that list this week.
I I think I moved to the no touchy on Kyler Murray because I can't. He's getting on my nerves, right? And I know that a lot of people that I've like DraftKings post their like optimal plays headed into the week, kind of like
Yeah.
some forecast for it. And a lot of
Hmm.
people are like, Kyler Murray's the must start this week, and I'm like, dude, he's
Why?
had good matchups 3 weeks in a row. What makes him a must start this week? Like, you
Yeah.
guys haven't been tracking in the last 3 weeks. Like, yeah, I don't know. I know Carolina's defense is ranked like dead last against
Yeah.
the run this year, which is like
Hmm.
why I've been picking them in matchups where they're not last in run. They're terrible against the
Right.
pass, and so it's yeah. I don't think he's broke 100 yards on the ground this year. Maybe one
No.
time. It's unlike him. I mean, he used to be
Yeah.
close to 70, 80 yards. So
I
yeah.
know.
Anyway, Kyler Murray. We'll see if you're on the no touchy list, but you're that close, buddy.
You're
You're real
close.
close. So breaking down some of the guys that I really like, I'm going to step in here for Cole and give him a couple. I know what Cole's thinking this week.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers, he's back.
Aaron Rodgers. Let me give you
Five
some
thousand.
stats on Aaron Rodgers
Yeah.
because I may have him on my list too. But last 2 weeks for Aaron Rodgers, he's averaging 314 yards in the air, 4 touchdowns in those 2 weeks, and no interceptions. So really starting to cook. It's a little too late for the Jets, but he's playing
Yeah.
much better for sure.
Yeah.
But I do like, he would have been high on Cole's list, probably number
Oh, I
one in
know.
value
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh, I know for a fact he after that game he had last week with Devontae going
Yeah.
off in the second half, and he was kind of tracking him and Garrett Wilson. I'm sure he
Yep.
wishes some of those catches were to Garrett Wilson, but
No doubt.
at least Aaron Rodgers showed some signs of life. He showed a pulse.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just in time
I
for his
know.
Netflix documentary to drop.
Yeah, maybe this week is like the Aaron Rodgers week with that coming out or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know what his thoughts would be on Dorian Thompson Robinson. You know, he really doesn't like to start those really really cheap quarterbacks,
Yeah.
but I know that he's a big Michael Penix fan. I know he wants
Yeah.
all the Penix for
All the
1,500.
panics.
I
Pause.
want all the Penix. I want all the Penix for
Yeah.
1,500 because
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real heavy on him this weekend, and I have a pass catcher that I think is really going to benefit from Michael Penix this weekend. But I'll hold that. I'll keep that
Yeah.
close to the vest. He's my plum pick this week, and we get to that segment,
Ooh.
the new segment.
The news
He's my
segment, baby.
yeah. I'll get to him later, but uh, hey, the last one I have is Aiden O'Connell.
Mm.
He's back healthy this week, practiced fully. That Chiefs game, I mean, he had a fantastic game against the
It's
Chiefs, and
great.
then the game after that, I don't know if they played Philly or Pittsburgh or who they played when he got hurt and they had to bring
Hmm.
in Ritter.
Yeah.
He was doing all right, but I think he's a good play against Jacksonville this weekend.
Anybody
You know,
against Jacksonville.
yeah, and it's at home. I
Yeah.
believe I believe it's in Vegas, so it's indoors. So I know this is kind of the time where weather gets kind of spicy or chilly.
Yeah.
It's kind
No
of dicey
doubt.
with the weather now. So you kind of have to keep checking that because some of these warm weather teams and indoor teams, when they get in that cold, it's almost
Yeah.
like they literally freeze. No pun intended. So you got to be watching that weather, man. High winds, cold weather, snow, whatever it is. Check the elements before you pick a quarterback that's going to be throwing against 40-mile-per-hour winds.
100%.
That's kind of the guys I've been zeroed in this week. What you got?
So I've got some similar ones, but off the bat, first value play Cooper Rush versus Tampa. Um, Tampa is allowing 22.1 points to quarterbacks in fantasy this year. And I had a weird stat. I was kind of thinking about Dallas as a whole as a team. They have 539 pass attempts this year, which is second most in the NFL. So I think his pass attempts will be up. They've run the ball better. Rico Dowell's been a good play the last couple weeks, but I still like Cooper Rush against that defense. I believe he had 2 to 3 touchdowns last week, and I just see that trend continuing. And he's only at 5,200. He's kind of one of those lower tier guys that you can kind of maybe get away with against a bad defense. So Cooper
Yeah,
Rush is number one on my value list for this week. Number two at 4,500, Michael Penix. I think that
yes,
he's
sir.
got a lot of weapons. He's got a good run game
Oh
to
man,
protect him. So you got London, you got Mooney, you got Ray McLeod, if that's his name, if I remember correctly. You got Bijan Robinson that can catch passes as well. So I really like Michael
forgetting
Penix.
somebody, buddy. You're forgetting somebody.
Oh, Kyle Pitts, baby. Kyle Pitts. Let's see if he can catch a lefty. No, I'm just kidding. But they're playing against the Giants who have packed it in for the season, and the Falcons are fighting for a playoff opportunity. So I really like Michael
Yeah,
Penix at 4,500. And then my third value is just kind of piggyback on Cole if he was here would be Aaron Rodgers. I just think he's kind of had a good 2 weeks, getting a little momentum. Him and Devontae Adams had great chemistry in that Jacksonville game in the second half. I'm not going to lie to you, there was a point in the first half where I was saying some words I probably shouldn't have because Devontae Adams is on my season long fantasy team and he had 0 points in the first half and then proceeded to go for 43 total fantasy points. So thankful for Aaron Rodgers last week, no doubt, but he's kind of the third option I have out there. And I believe his value is at
600.
5,400,
Yeah,
600.
600.
Yeah,
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers, 5,600. Yep. Yep. So I still like him too. This is a relatively cheap quarterback that's been playing better. And then they're playing against the Rams, who's 25th to quarterbacks. So I think he's a good option out there too. But I'm kind of with you. I really think Michael Penix at 4,500 with his weapons, he may be in the core four. We'll see when we get there. But
Mm-hmm.
there's also some really good. I mean, if you just look down at the quarterback list this week, there's some cheap starters that you can get. I was
Yeah.
kind of circling some. You got Mason Rudolph at 5,000, Drew Lock at 4,900, Penix at 4,500. Aiden O'Connell is cheap. Mac Jones is about 5,200. So you can maybe roll the dice depending on what defensive matchups you like. There's some good opportunities to get a low tier quarterback and build out the rest of your lineup. So. Uh, it kind of just depends on which way you want to go, quarterback
Yeah,
wise. But let's move.
the last 2 weeks, Josh Allen's put up like 40 and 50 points. He's
Mm-hmm.
doubling his salary. He's doubling his salary projection right now. His salary
Yep.
is like 8,500, and if you're scoring
Yep.
40 daggone points, that's like a 16,000 salary. I
No
mean,
doubt.
he's been killing it. So you kind of
Yeah.
it's
It.
if you could almost find value against him in New England if you really wanted to, if he's going to score 40 to 50 points again.
I agree. Yeah, I think if you're going to go high tier quarterback, you go with him. I think the Bills want him to win the MVP, and he's
Yes.
been incredible the last couple of weeks. So I could see that continuing in New England. I don't know what the weather's like. Either way, Josh Allen doesn't seem to be affected by weather. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I do like that play a lot. It's so hard for me to spend that kind of money on a quarterback because if
It
they go
is.
out and get 10 points, it just really sinks and craters your team.
I think
So
I think we could. Oh yeah, you're right about that. I think there's some good values at the receiver, running back, and even at the tight end. I think I think if you were going to do it this week, would be a decent week. But we'll get to some of those lower salary players where you can try to build around a higher price
Yep,
quarterback if that's the way you feel.
100%. Well, let's jump to running backs. I'll start us here. We probably have some of the same, maybe not, but I'm going to go back to the well on this one. Rico Dow at 6,300. He's played really well. I think he's had 4 straight games with 100 yards, maybe 3. Don't quote me on that. But the last 3 weeks in fantasy, he's had 24.3, 18.1, and 17.9. And I think he's only had 1 touchdown in those 3 weeks. So that's pretty awesome production
Yeah.
from a running back. And again, they're playing Tampa, who hasn't been great. They're allowing 22.4 points to running backs. So I really like Rico Dowell again this week. And then my higher salary guy this week is Jahmyr Gibbs at 7,500 against Chicago. They're 28th to running backs, allowing 25.6 fantasy points. But the reason I really like Jahmyr Gibbs here is one, his pass catching ability. But now it's going to be interesting to see how they do the running back lineup because it was by committee, but now Montgomery's going to be out for the rest of the regular season, possibly the playoffs. So at 7,500, give me Jahmyr Gibbs for sure this week. I really like the matchup, and then I like that he's going to be the every down back more than likely. They'll probably sprinkle in a couple of these backups here and there, but I really like Jahmyr Gibbs this week. And then I've got one I'm going to hold on to. I've got a plum pick coming, so I'm gonna hold on to one. I'll save it for later in our segment here. But what do you got this week? And maybe speak for Cole too. He might have one or two.
Yeah. Well, I know for a fact Cole's going with Jahmyr Gibbs. You know he likes the high-priced running backs.
He does love a high-priced running back.
Yeah. I don't know how much stock the Lions are going to put in Craig Reynolds, who I think is the backup for the Lions, especially if they're coming off a loss. They lose last week to the Bills. Is that who they played last week? Or was it,
Bills.
So, I mean, they're fighting for a first round, by trying to clinch a spot. So, I think in those high leverage spots in the red zone and, big downs late in the game, I don't see how they don't give Gibbs at least 25 touches in a game minimum.
Because here's the reality too, Gabe. You talked about them fighting for that 1 seed. They're really fighting to win that division because if they lose that division, they jump all the way to the 5. And you really don't want to play wild card weekend. You want to get that 1 seed if at all costs, basically. So they may run the crap out of Jahmyr Gibbs and keep him involved that whole game. So
you got to think Gibbs and Montgomery were both averaging somewhere around 15 to 16 carries between both of them, and pass catching. Averaging 3 or 4. I mean, they really use their running backs a lot in Detroit when they had both of them. So I don't see how they go away from it. They're going to have to use them, and I don't think they're going to put Craig Reynolds in there and Gibbs without explosive he is. It just doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like a move Dan Campbell will make, especially with how good he knows Gibbs is. But this one's a question mark for me. Breece Hall, 6,100 against the Rams. That's cheap for this. He was a top 3 overall pick in fantasy this year.
Yeah.
Breece Hall. And he hasn't played terrible, but he hasn't been amazing. But he's had his moments where he's really killed it and had, over 20 points. But his price has significantly dropped, especially after that injury. And they had some of that news come out about they want to play some of these rookie running backs from Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. But Braylon Allen's questionable this week with a back injury. I think he practiced limited this week.
Mm-hmm.
So, how bad do they really want to use him is the question. Breece Hall scored a touchdown last week. I think he had 9 carries. So his volume has dropped significantly with those other 2 running backs kind of mixed in. But when the running back sits out, then it kind of turns to a 2-man rotation. And if, I think the Jets are mathematically eliminated, correct? They are.
I'm double checking because I had that same question. I think they are.
If they're mathematically eliminated, then maybe I could see Breece kind of getting
They're eliminated.
Okay, well then I can see maybe they, don't ride him too hard. Pause. But he's still Breece Hall, and he's still capable of breaking off a long touchdown run at any point, especially against the defense. But I guess the Rams defense hasn't been the worst defense in the league the last couple weeks. But anyway, I'm going to lean this. I'm going to speak for Cole here because I know a couple other people that Cole was going to really like, and he loves Chuba Hubbard for the Panthers against the Cardinals. I know he's going to like him, and then Jerome Ford, 5,600 I feel like he'd lean towards that one at Cleveland versus Cincinnati. I know that DTR is gonna be quarterback for them. I don't think that was the right decision to bench Jameis.
I don't
That's a
think
whole
so
other
either.
conversation. I think that was the wrong call. He's had some tough games, but that's what you got when you got Jameis. You knew what you were getting. You knew what you
30 and
signed up
30,
for.
baby.
He just threw for 500 yards a few games ago, and
Yeah.
you're going to start somebody that just doesn't make sense to me. But uh, for some of my plays, I really like Pat Taylor at 5,100 for the 49ers. Garindo's not playing against Miami.
Yeah.
I
Saw that.
heard this week that I was trying to figure out, like, where was Pat Taylor? Why does the name sound familiar? He was the third string running back behind Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon at the
Okay.
Packers.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
he played some for Green Bay when he was there. So I honestly think they'll have a lot of trust in him. I know they signed Keyshawn Vaughn and another guy. I can't even remember his name. It's like Exavo John, some weird name. I'm not trusting him, I'll tell you that. I think
Yeah.
Patrick Taylor will get some heavy usage this weekend for the 49ers. He scored a touchdown the last time when Garindo went out, had about 7 carries at the end of that game. So I trust him to get some work. Tony Pollard hasn't practiced a single day this week for the Titans. And
Tajay Spears, baby.
they've benched Levis, which kind of makes me think that they've kind of said, screw this, we're not going to get him hurt, plus he sucks. And Tony Pollard has also, they've mentioned kind of giving him a rest and kind of limiting his snaps. So I think with them benching Levis and putting in Rudolph was them kind of like signaling, waving the white flag this year. And Tony Pollard's been battling a lot of injuries, ankles, hips, whatever, concussions. So I honestly could see Tony Pollard not playing this week. And Spears is at 4,900. And with his pass catching ability and 3-down roll, I can honestly see him carrying at least a 20 to 25 touches in that game against a bad Colts defense. It's in Indianapolis too, so it's indoors. So no real weather concerns. It's not super cold here in Tennessee, but indoors is always better.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then you have Aaron Jones. I think they play Seattle. Is that who they play? Minnesota and Seattle?
Yes, that's correct.
6,400. His price has dropped some the last couple of weeks, and he's had a couple good weeks. Cam Akers has kind of taken a little bit of his goal line work away and some of the short yardage stuff. Aaron Jones is definitely still the number one and a pass catching back. But definitely be aware that Cam Akers is there, and he's played there for I think a couple of years. He just got traded back to him. So there is always the possibility of a Cam Akers vulture.
Yeah, no doubt.
Seattle and Minnesota seems like it could be a pretty competitive game if Sam Darnold goes up. And Seattle's defense against the run has been kind of mediocre. Really, in general, their defense just hasn't been amazing. Check the weather though; could be raining in Seattle. That's always a really risky place to.
Yeah, no doubt.
The weather's always kind of tough there.
I forgot to mention this guy. This is one to keep an eye on, right? Not necessarily a plum pick, not necessarily somebody I love, just watching the trends. Okay. So this guy, Ty Johnson, the running back for Buffalo, he's at 5,200. However, last 2 games, points per game, he had 13.5 and 20.3.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys you talk about running backs with the ability to catch the ball. He's never going to hurt you on the ground because they got James Cook. He's not going to be a bell cow, but his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. He had last 2 games, he's had 7 catches, 169 yards receiving, and 1 touchdown. I think his ability to catch the ball is just something to keep an eye on. He's taken some of the volume from James Cook through the passing game. So just someone circle, see what happens. Yeah. And see what happens there and see if that trend continues and what that does to James Cook if you're a big James Cook fan. So just someone to keep an eye on as we're moving forward late into the season. What does that look like? Indiana, terrible pass. But it's just a guy to keep your eye on. So let's jump to receivers unless you had another running back. Are you good?
No, that was it. That's all I got for the running back.
All right, let's go receivers here. I'll let you lead the charge here.
Yeah, I think I'm finally out on Marvin Harrison Jr. I think I'm finally putting him I just
16 weeks in.
It's not because of him. It's because of Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this: I will have a team with Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. because I may be saying I'm out on him right now, but I will not get bit by that snake. I will have it in there because it will happen. I guarantee it, and I will pick them so it doesn't happen. So I'll be right.
Yeah, just in case. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna dive headfirst like I have been putting them in like multiple teams. I'm gonna have that one team that I'm just like, this is my team of screw you guys. I hope you keep sucking, and they'll be in it. And you know who also probably be on that team? DK Metcalf, 5,500. 5,500.
Wow,
Yeah, he is
5,500.
just he's dropped significantly. And Jigba's
Yeah.
at like 6,000, and they're playing Minnesota. Minnesota's defense against the pass is very bad. So
Mm,
I think in Jigba, honestly, I think in Jigba is now the new number one. I
I
think
think so.
they've kind of either they're rolling coverage towards DK or DK is not fully healthy, but his big playability has kind of dropped. He had like a really long touchdown against New England at the beginning of the season, and he hasn't really done anything
Hmm.
since. He's just been kind of mid.
Yeah.
But he's still, like I said, he's still a fantastic player, and so you kind
Yeah.
of have to like you're
He's a
gonna have
freak.
that team, like I said, yeah, you gotta have that team that's like the screw you guys, that
Yeah. Yeah. No
in good
doubt.
shape.
No doubt. Just in
So
case.
yeah, and then I'm sure. So I got a couple for Cole.
Hey, before you go to Cole, I got a question for you. What's the update on Geno Smith?
He's playing.
He is going to play. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. I was
that
just
was
wondering because I watched Sam Howell play, and if he
oh
had any chance of starting this week, I was going to go no touchy all Seattle
yeah
receivers. But Geno
yeah
playing, even if he's a little banged up, I could trust some of those guys a little bit.
yeah exactly. Yeah, I think I trust him more with him. And Cole, I know for a fact was pissed a little bit last week about this guy, but I could see him going back to him. That's Jacoby Myers,
Mm,
5,800 with O'Connell back.
yeah, with
Uh,
O'Connell
price
back.
his price stayed the same, and he's playing a much easier team.
Yep.
So I think with him back, I like Myers too at 5,800. And this is a guy you really need to watch this weekend for the Panthers. Coker, questionable with a quad injury, and Leggett has
Mm,
been ruled out. So you have
yep.
Thielen at 5,600, but you got sneaky David Moore at 3,600, who's had good games as like I think it's like either third or fourth down the depth chart there. But he's had some decent production and for his salary point. So I think if those two guys are out, Coker and Leggett, Moore is a really good play against the Panthers. I mean, against the Cardinals
Mm,
this weekend. I think.
yep.
And
I like
these
it.
two guys, I'm wavering on them. I don't like them, even though they're getting crazy targets. And combined, they've had like 60 combined targets over the last 3 weeks. That's Wandale Robinson and Malik Neighbors. I think Tim Boyle's the starting quarterback for the Giants. Oh yeah,
Ouch.
exhale. Wandale's at 4,100 and Malik's at 6,100. So their prices dropped too, like significantly. If I had to choose one of those guys, honestly, I think I like Neighbors more at
Hmm.
6,100. But Wandale over the last 2 weeks had 20 targets combined, 10, basically 9 and 11. So they're both getting
Jeez. Yeah.
heavy target usage for the Giants. But that quarterback, gosh, dog, it is a
It's
terrible
bad.
position in New York. It's bad.
It is bad, no doubt. Um, so I'm going completely opposite of what I normally do because I haven't mentioned these guys one time. Value plays this week. I've got DJ Moore, Chicago receiver, 5,700 versus the Lions. We know the Lions
Yeah.
defense has been
Oh yeah.
susceptible to the passing game. They're
They're
28th
banged
to
up.
receivers. Yep, and they're
Yeah.
banged up. So he's already played Detroit once, and he had 16 targets, 8 catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown. And he had 23.7 fantasy points. I really like the matchup for DJ Moore. I think there's a lot of opportunity there, a lot of value. I know Caleb Williams hasn't been playing great, but this is a game to get back on track with a terrible, terrible pass defense. So really like DJ Moore this week. And then my second guy I've got circled with Pickens out again is going to be Calvin Austin the third at 3,800. Cole talks about this guy a lot. He was the leading receiver with Pickens out last week. He had 5 catches, 65 yards. It's not going to break the bank, but for $3,800, that's a pretty good value there. And then the final guy I had circled, and maybe this is my Alabama bias / watching him just ball out last week, is Devontae Smith at 5,800. He led the team in targets last week with 12. He had 11 catches, 109 yards, and a touchdown. So he had an awesome week last week.
Yeah.
Got more targets than AJ Brown. So I really, I could see him. It really just depends on Jalen Hurts. I mean, it's always dependent upon Jalen Hurts. Is this going to be a run game, or is this going to be Jalen actually airs it out a little bit?
Who
So
they play this week? Who is it?
they've got they have the Commanders, who has
Oh, okay.
they've been okay on defense. They've gotten
Yeah,
better
much
as the
better.
season's
Yeah,
gone along, but I still think there's opportunities there in the pass game for the Eagles. So, what?
definitely doesn't scare you.
Yeah, it doesn't scare you for sure.
Yeah.
And 5,800 is kind of worth the. It's kind of like that DK Metcalf at 5,500. He's a great
Mm-hmm.
receiver. You just kind of roll the dice on one of these cheaper guys and see what happens. So I got Devontae Smith at 5,800 this week as my kind of my third value, and then I really like Thielen as well. I didn't really have him on my list, but as you're kind of walking through the injuries and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I think Thielen's sitting at like 5,600, 5,500. Double checking that right this second
Yeah, he's
because
600, I think.
he's
Yeah,
6,000, 5,600.
5,600. Yeah.
5,600. Yeah. Okay. So he's relatively cheap too, and he'll be the number one receiver. And Bryce Young likes him. So it really depends. Again, we talk about this a lot, but quarterback play really affects these receivers, obviously. So it just depends. Is Bryce Young going to show up and play, or is this going to be Bryce Young from the first couple of weeks of the season? So it'll be interesting to see with less weapons if he's able to do something. But I like Thielen this week as well. Um, but let's jump into our tight ends here. Go ahead and start us off. What you got, tight ends?
Yep. So Grant Calcaterra, 3,400 for the Eagles with Goddard on the injured reserve. I don't know
Yeah.
what his stat line was last week, but it's kind of weird. He's still really cheap with a really good offense. I guess he
Mhm.
must not have done too well last week. I know the week before he had a decent week. I'm gonna check that real quick.
I got it right here. I'm looking it up.
Brenton Strange, 3,500 for the
My
Jags.
guy. My
Got to give
guy.
Britton props on that one. Britton freaking nailed that one last week. So I hope you guys, if you're listening, all 12 of you, you started Britton Strange last week because he freaking killed it.
Yeah. Hey, of
and
those 12, one of them is me. So
yeah, right. What was Calcaterra's stat line last week? Did you find
uh,
it?
Calcaterra had one catch for 22 yards, one target,
It's time,
which
baby.
is that's why he's still his value hadn't
Still wise at
increased.
3,400. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's a punt play, like they say. Put him in, hope for a touchdown, hope for 4 or 5 catches, and free up that salary for some of the higher floor guys. And then
Mm-hmm.
also, dude, I freaking love Kyle Pitts this week.
Mm.
4,000. I love it.
Kyle.
He's a freaking stud, freak of nature. He may not play that way, but Kirk Cousins has been
Yeah.
selling. He
Selling.
hadn't been crypto chains in a while.
Yeah.
So I like Kyle Pitts this week, 4,000.
Good. I don't have any of those guys except for Brenton Strange because I had him last week and he did me right. So I'm going to go back to the well there at 3,500. I've got Pat Fryermuth at 3,900. He's had a touchdown in the last 3 weeks. Pickens is out. He led the team in targets last week with 6, which isn't great, but he had 3 catches, 22 yards, and a touchdown. The week before, he had 3 catches, 48 yards, and a touchdown. And the week
Yep.
before that, he had 6 catches, 68 yards, and a touchdown. So he's had
I
double
know he
digit
got catches.
fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
Somebody
had
stay
double
with him.
digit fantasy outputs in 3 straight weeks. He's had a touchdown in 3 straight weeks. He's going to be a touchdown dependent guy because he's really, even with Pickens out, he's still not going to be like 10 to 12 targets. But I mean, at that value at 3,900, it's a good guy to take a flyer on, see what happens. And then I like Sam Laporta coming off his best week of the season last week at 4,700 against Chicago's defense, which is 24th to tight ends, allowing 13.3 points per game. I feel like it's a weird thing to say, but he's finally starting to break out. I think we expected this all season long from him. We've picked him over and over again in our core fours throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
Me or
Yeah.
Cole have, and
Mm-hmm.
has not worked out. But I like him this week. I think I like the matchup, and then coming off the best week he's had, I think there's a good opportunity for him to keep that momentum going. But those are the three guys I have: Pat Fryermuth, Sam Laporta, and Brenton Strange.
Yep.
Any other tight ends you want to throw in there for Cole?
Cole, um, I don't know. Let me give me a second. Let me Did you see that pass that
Yeah,
Riley
that
went
was
over?
good. Riley just threw a really good pass.
Yeah, dude.
It's
Indiana is poo poo.
cheap.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
if you're Indiana is terrible. You can't tell me that Alabama wouldn't put up a better game than this. And we are straight up homers, and I'm not even going to hide it. We love
yeah, no,
Alabama, but you can't tell me that Alabama isn't better than freaking Indiana. They are trash. Uh,
yeah,
oh,
they're
I know
getting
Cole pick.
dominated.
I know Cole pick. He's going to go Dalton Kincaid, 4,600.
Dalton Kincaid, the
Yeah,
man who has shafted us more than any player this season. Dalton Kincaid.
Cole, Cole would never. He would never pick him. Hunter Henry at 4,100. I think Cole. I think Cole would really like that.
Yeah,
And then T.J. Hawkinson at 4,800, coming off 7 targets last week against Seattle. He's still relatively cheap. So I could see if I was going to pick two people for Cole. Oh, actually, Brock Bowers. He likes really heavy, chalky picks. 6 out of 500, Brock Bowers against Jacksonville. That'd be Cole's number one. That'd definitely be in Cole's core four, 100%.
no doubt. There's
For
no
sure.
doubt about that. Speaking of core four, let's jump into it. I'll start us here. Most of these guys are on my value pick list this week, but I've got Cooper Rush at 5,200, Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm going a Cole strategy here, going heavy, spending a lot of money on my running back. I hope it works out, boys.
Yeah.
I got DJ Moore as my third guy, and then I really like Sam Laporta this week at 4,700. So those are my four guys. It could change. There's Britton Strange is still calling my name a little bit this week, so I may flex him out at my at Sam Laporta position, but that's kind of where I'm rolling and leaning this week. What you got?
Yeah. I really like Jahmyr Gibbs this week, but I'm going to go Michael Penix 4,500, and I'm going to go Pat Taylor 5,100.
Hmm.
I'm going to go Kyle Pitts at 4,000, and I know Cole is shaking his head right now. It's like wherever he is, he can hear me in the back of his head right now. He can just feel the low salary core four picks. And then I've got to toss it around like my last one. Like I've been thinking about Gibbs, I've been thinking about Myers. I'm going to go Gibbs too, just because he's going to have so much work.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that they finally unleash the Jahmyr Gibbs that we saw at Alabama. That was
yeah.
just untouchable with his
Hmm.
elusiveness and speed. So, yep, I'm going to go Penix, Gibbs, Pat Taylor, Kyle Pitts, Penix and Pitts stack. You hear that? Penix and Pitts. That goes together as a law firm, baby. Penix and Pitts.
That's also something else. But, anyways,
Yeah.
let's move on. This is our new segment, the plum segment. And why do we call it the plum segment? Because we can feel it in our plums, boys.
Really? Can you feel the tension in the air right now? I know I can. I can feel it all the way down in my plums, getting all swollen with a light blue hue to them, fresh and juicy, ready for the picking.
So last week we kind of were texting back and forth in the group message, talked a little bit about it. My plum pick last week was Xavier Worthy. I think he had like 19.7. It was like 5,000 salary. So it's exactly what you want on your plum pick. Somebody that's going to hit, get you way more than they're projected, and carry you in that week. So my plum pick this week, and dadgummit if I don't love him. He's a Bama guy. Well, he's from the state of Bama. He didn't play at Alabama.
Okay.
He actually played up north a little bit. But Amir Abdullah, 4,600. And I'll tell you this all the time. The plums just tingle on this one. This may come back to just chop them completely clean off of me. But the reason that I like Riley Leonard touchdown, by the way, the reason that I like Amir Abdullah is one, McCormick just went to IR, so he's done.
Yep.
Alexander Madison will be the starting running back for the Las Vegas Raiders, who has done little to nothing this year. And I think Abdullah is a good, safe, check down guy for Aiden O'Connell, for Desmond Ridder, whatever quarterback they decide to roll out there. He's a good safety blanket because he has a great ability to catch the ball. Last week, he had 7 catches, right? We talk about running backs and their ability to catch in PPR. 1 catch, 10 yards, right? So he had 7 catches, the equivalent of 70 yards, right? He had 58 receiving yards, and he had a touchdown. And he was second in targets on the team last week. So using my trends, it never works, boys, but for some reason I just got that feeling. I think Amir Abdullah at 4,600. It's a higher salary, but I like his ability to catch the ball, and I just kind of feel it deep down in my plums, boys. Amir Abdullah.
It's about feeling it. Mine, I'm going Kyle Pitts. I spoke about him earlier. I just have a feeling. I think with Penix, it's just going to open it up. Plus, I don't know why. He hasn't shown really anything that's given me the type of confidence in him, but that's what the plum picks are about. Who's giving me that tingle this week? Who's giving me that tingle?
Who gives you the tingle?
When I see Kyle Pitts down there at 4,000, just getting a little shiver up my spine. It's like I'm starting him. Awesome.
That's a great T-shirt idea, though, for real. Who gives you the tinkle?
He's down and down. Will Ferrell. I'm gonna add that clip to the.
Really? Can you feel the tension in the air right now? I know I can. I can feel it all the way down in my plums, getting all swollen, with a light blue hue to them, fresh and juicy, ready for the picking. All the school children are lining up to put them in the sack lunches. Hey, that plum looks good. Can I trade it for your Twinkie? No, these are my plums. I want to bite into that plum and let the juice spill down my chin. You know what I mean? All the while, everyone's saying, I want the juice to spill down.
For this segment. These plum picks could, when you say Michael Penix and Amir Abdullah, this could go so wrong.
But I'm not going Michael Penix. I'm going Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts. I'm sorry.
Kyle Pitts. Yeah.
Also could go very wrong, but you gotta love it. When you just feel it, you call your shot and see what happens, baby. You're pointing out that home run.
If Michael Penix has a good game and starts for the Atlanta Falcons next year, I'm going to name my fantasy team Penix and the Plums. Is what my
Penix and the Plums, baby. Double P's. Let's go. Oh man. Well, let's. Cole didn't give us one. I don't think he texted us any plum picks this week, so we'll give him a just crappy plum pick this week. Let me pick somebody out for Cole. This is your punishment for missing. And leaving your computer behind. I got one for you. Here you go. You ready? I've got Alan Lazard, 4,000 plum pick for Cole this week. He had 0 fantasy points last week. So Cole, that's your punishment. You get to rock Alan Lazard plum pick this week.
That's what you get for being irresponsible and not having your computer with you. You get Alan Lazard.
You had one job. Just pack the computer, bro. Come on.
Pack the computer, man.
All right. Speed up a little bit here. Let's go optimal. Obviously, we talk about, whoever is listening to this, we talk about this all the time. Check the TikTok channel. Gabe's formula gives us our optimal lineups for 4 receivers, 3 running backs, or 2 tight ends. We'll have all 3 of those out. So just stay tuned to the TikTok channel. That's where most of our information goes out for the last minute updates that we have if you're not listening to this live. So pay attention to that, and then we're going to give you our optimal lineups, and I'll make one while you're talking, Gabe, for Cole, because I'm going to absolutely bone him here on this one. So go ahead. What you got, optimal lineups?
Please give him a Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. stack. That'd be hilarious. Please.
It would eat him alive if that was his optimal.
Yeah. So I'm going to start lead off with Michael Penix Jr. and then Jahmyr Gibbs, Patrick Taylor, the 49ers, Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, Jacoby Myers, 5,800. My plum pick, Kyle Pitts. And then I'm rolling out Chuba Hubbard, 6,800. And my defense, I'm rolling the dice like I always do. Pick one of the lowest salary defenses on the slate. I'm going Chicago Bears, 2,200. I actually have a lot of confidence in this team, to be honest with you. A lot of a high upside here, like with Metcalf and Chase and
Yep.
uh, Jameer Gibbs. So I like what I got. I like what I got on paper. See what happens. I'm coming off one of the absolute
Uh,
worst
it's the
money
worst I've
lineups I've
ever.
ever made. It
It's the
was
worst I've ever seen you do. To be honest, and you've been playing this for a long,
yeah,
long time.
69 total points. I mean, you couldn't draw up a worse team. I mean, Tyreek just absolutely just
Crap
bent
the
me.
bed.
It was yeah. We had a
Tua.
tough week last week, but bound for a
Yeah.
rebound.
Yeah, I think the pod could use some momentum here. We need one of these to hit really well. But I don't think it's going to be my optimal lineup. I look at this and it makes me want to vomit, but we're going to roll it out anyways. I've got Cooper Rush, starting quarterback. I've got Amir Abdullah, plum pick, Jameer Gibbs. I'm stacking Rush with Lamb here. CD Lamb will be in my lineup this week. I've got Calvin Austin the third, DJ Moore, Sam Laporta, Puka Nakua, and the Colts defense. But I do have a question for you. If you were me, I can go Puka Nakua, Colts, or I can go Jamar Chase and the Giants. If you had Puka and Chase, there's a 500 difference in salary, but they're
Yeah.
projected the same points. So I'm kind of torn there. Chase has been awesome. They're still fighting for their playoff lives. So there's a part of me that's like, go Chase and Giants to just roll the dice. But Puka's been solid. Colts defense is not great, but it's a decent matchup for them. So I'm not really sure. I'm kind of leaning on you here. Leaning on you here for this.
Rams play the Jets in New York,
Yep.
and then Cleveland plays Cincinnati in Cincinnati.
Yep.
I definitely checked the weather. Like I said, I am a big proponent of if it's snowing, don't stay away from that.
Yep.
But T. Higgins, the reason I had kind of Chase in mind is T. Higgins was questionable, but they said he's on track to play. I know that hasn't mattered a single lick to Jamar Chase's production in the last few weeks
Yeah.
with him out, but there's always the T. Higgins game that's
Yeah.
looming out there where he steals it. But there's also the Cooper Cup game with Puka. So
Yeah.
it's almost a coin toss. If I had to choose, I honestly think I would choose Chase
Okay.
because of Joe Burrow. I know
Yeah.
Matt Stafford's good, but
Joe Burrow's awesome. Yeah.
Joe Burrow's awesome. And Chase has got way more big play, get loose ability than Puka.
Yeah.
Puka is a great receiver. Don't get me wrong; he's nasty, route running,
Yeah.
whatever. But I mean, Jamar Chase, he could catch a 5-yard slant and just be out the gate, and he ain't catching it.
Yeah. That's a great point. I think my biggest fear for Chase is just the route that the Bengals may give the Browns.
Yeah,
I think that's my only hesitation there because if Dorian Thompson
Yeah.
Robinson, whatever, if he is a starter and it gets ugly early,
That's true, yeah.
they may not have to pass it as much. But that's my
Kinda
only
kind of
concern.
convinced me now to go back to Puka just because of that. Because I feel like the Jets and the Rams.
I think it could be more competitive potentially than the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals.
They're on the road, so the Jets have that
Yeah.
advantage, and then the Cincinnati's at home against Cleveland. But it is a rivalry game between the Browns and
Yeah.
so
I'm in a predicament here. My head,
that doesn't.
I'm twisted. I'm in a pretzel. I'm not sure what to do.
Just
But
ask yourself the question: which one of these guys can I look back on and say, I don't regret my decision?
yeah,
But I guess they're both really good. So
Golly.
either way, you're gonna.
I know.
It's like you're picking a guy who's like mid versus a guy who's really good. It's
Yeah.
like they're both really good. So, I don't know. It's a tough one.
Oof. I'm gonna stick to what I have for the moment, but you may get a text in about 30 minutes saying, "Hey, I changed my mind. I changed it. I got scared." Because I think I think the reality is either way, you can wake up and look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I tried.
The good news is the difference, hopefully, since they're both so high priced, should only be 5 to 10 points. You shouldn't get corked by either one of them. Like they should both score a good amount of points. You may just be deciding who's going to score 30, who's going to score 20.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
You know what my biggest fear is, to be honest with you? It's your experience with Cooper Cup last week with 0 points. Like I'm like, dude, if Puka does that, my lineup is in shambles, and I just can't see Chase ever having a game where he has like less than 7. Like it's just
Derrick Henry last week.
Yeah.
Good night, son. I mean, against the Giants, like 8 points. That's what killed me last week. That's my biggest fear. I'm not picking any high salary price running backs unless they can catch passes because Derrick Henry is not worth the risk on that one. He'll score 3 touchdowns to pay out with his limited pass catching.
No doubt. Well, this is my time to make Cole's lineup. So, starting quarterback for Cole, let's give him
Kyler Murray.
Why not? We'll give him Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray.
Receivers, we'll go. He's a big Calvin Austin guy. We'll give him Calvin.
Got though in his Chuba Hubbard.
Oh no, dude! You know who we got to put in there for him? Debo.
Oh,
Samuel.
Yeah, you got to put in
Debo Samuel. I'm not going to waste anybody's time, but Gabe, you will be receiving a text message later saying, here is his lineup to throw out on our TikTok channel. And Debo Samuel, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Kyler Murray will all be in his lineup. And this will be the week, mark my words, this will be the week that Debo goes for 100 and tub. Marvin Harrison will go for 150 and a touchdown. But
bro, can you put Jordan Addison in there? Okay.
I'll get it. I'll get all of this sent over to you. It'll be a great lineup for him. He'll be so excited.
Maybe you should do Sam Darnold, Jordan Addison, since we do. Okay.
He actually likes Sam Darnold. I know he doesn't like Kyler that much. I'm gonna go Kyler for sure.
Okay.
Oh man, but this is fun. Cole, we love you. You got anything as we kind of wind down the evening? Any other? This is a big reminder that this is including the Saturday and Sunday afternoon slate. So now that we're 50 minutes in, if you're still listening, this is for Saturday and Sunday. Should have edited that earlier. But any last minute thoughts?
Yeah. Indiana sucks. Don't know why they're in the playoff. Alabama should be in. This game has been an absolute disaster. After the Ohio State game and how they just got blown the doors off of them, that didn't show the playoff committee anything. But now hopefully Notre Dame blowing them out right now. Next year, they'll put a little bit of stock and strength of schedule and actual player worth, because I don't see a single player on any of these teams for Indiana that's going to go to the NFL next year. To be honest with you, I don't think there's a single person. So Indiana, like, count your days, because this might be you can go 12-0 next year and probably won't after this disaster performance. You guys suck.
Yeah. Roll Tide, brother. Well, that's all I got for us. I'm hoping that week 16, this is it. We need it bad. The print needs it bad, baby. We just need
in the season, man. It has been fantastic, but
it has been awesome.
We wind down. I think week 17 and 18 when those teams start clinching and we really get some value picks, because we're gonna have people sitting out. I think it could get really fun.
I think it could be. It'll be really fun or really dicey, maybe both. But
awesome. It'll
be fun. And then also, just as if you're still listening to, we may dip our toe lightly into NBA. Throughout the season.
I'm sorry, buddy. I don't know if I can do it. I got so mad today. Jimmy Butler played about 5 minutes, and then halfway through the game, they ruled him out with an illness. And I said, "You gotta be freaking kidding me, dude!"
Well, that makes me wonder if he's going to get traded this week. Because
I think. Oh god, I can't. I'll go on another rant right now on the NBA, dude. I think it is the absolute worst professional sport product out right now. Every single one of those players is taking time off for freaking mental health, illness. My toenails jammed. Just it is the worst league. I hate it so much.
Yeah, if you haven't figured it out, Gabe's not a huge NBA guy. I'm not either. I used to love it,
man. I loved it when they used to play so hard, dude. Like Now it is literally just watching a rec league basketball game where every single player is making more money than I'll ever sniff in my entire life, and they're going out there just to not hurt themselves. When that NBA Cup that just happened, I thought was awesome. Like that OKC and that Bucks game, that was a great game. They were playing hard. They had stakes to it. But now it's like they get their money regardless in the regular season, whether they win or lose. And so it's like you got teams that are like going to end the season, like the Pelicans. The Pelicans are going to end the season probably like 10-60. They're going to have like 3 players making over $100 million.
Yeah.
For what? You suck. Like,
one of them's making $100 million to go eat. I mean, it's ridiculous. But speaking of rec league, this is my last story. I haven't told a story tonight, so I got a story for you, and it'll be quick because I know we're out of time. What's today? Friday. Last night we had a rec league game. I lost. One of my better players wasn't playing. The other one's hobbled on an ankle. Tried to gut it out like a champ. Just didn't have it last night. But we scored, drum roll, 4 quarters, 16 points. 16 points, missed like 15 free throws, turned the ball over like it was on fire. I'm not sure what happened. We lost. If you weren't catching where I was going with that.
What was the final score?
The other team only scored 23 to 16.
Okay. All right. Okay.
In high school rec league basketball.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments where you look at your clipboard, you look down at your bench, and you just say, you know what, guys, tonight's not the night. Maybe next week, but tonight is not it. So, but that's my, I figured you'd want to just soak in that 16 points. So hopefully our fantasy team score more than 16 points this week, but we will, oh my gosh, onside kick, they got it.
Shout out to Indiana for a little bit of fight now at the end of the game with a minute to go. Freaking
well, dude, Vegas called in, the Big Ten called in and said, hey, we got to make this game a little closer so that we don't screw ourselves next year.
That's right. Jeez. They're gonna freaking like get this within like 1 score. And
I know,
like it was a good game, and that's gonna piss me off. Yeah. It's terrible.
Anyways, guys, good luck in week 16. The print's here for you if you need us. Merry Christmas. We'll catch you next week. See y'all.
Yeah.